Hi, I'm Dave Rutherford with Jay Hill, and we're talking about where we are in the middle of this election campaign, Jay, which you and I have determined to be the most pivotal election in Canadian history. This is important, this election campaign right now. October 21st, Election Day, we want you to vote.
That's right.
We want to put these issues in some perspective, though, because you always hear about the news of the day. But you know what, Jay? We've gone back and made, a top 20 list of reasons why we think the Trudeau government should be kicked out of office.
That's right.
All right,
They do not deserve to be re-elected.
Absolutely right. Okay, we've got our list. Let's go through them. Jay,
Okay.
In case a lot of people might forget, remember this, Omar Khadr. Remember Omar Khadr? You and I have not forgotten. He got $10.5 million from this Liberal government. He won the lottery to try to help him reestablish himself in Canadian society. $10 million for Omar, number 20.
19. Trudeau said that he cared about the middle class. In fact, he made it central to his 2015 election campaign.
Yeah.
Well, 4 years later, almost every Canadian that's in the middle class pays more in taxes than they did 4 years ago.
You know, other things that he talked about in 2015, made it a big part of his campaign in 2015, captured some imagination, was the way we elect governments in the first place. He didn't like the first past the post system, which is what got him into office. He promised electoral reform. We're going to change the system going forward. Nothing, did not change a thing.
Now, do you remember the Canada Summer Jobs application, the attack on Christian beliefs and values? And Trudeau made sure that if they don't publicly endorse abortion, they're cut off from any financial assistance.
Hey, and who can forget this one? You may have heard about it a little bit lately, but the originator of this was Justin Trudeau. The carbon tax, the national carbon tax, which he has promised is going to go up and up and up in his next administration, already costing Canadians, what, $2,000 a year or so in this carbon tax, and it's going to get worse. Don't forget that one.
That's right. What about injustice? There's so many examples. I almost forgot about poor young Tori Stafford and the fact that her killers, especially the female murderer, was allowed out of maximum security prison. There was a hell of a thing in Parliament about that, and eventually public pressure from you, made the government change their minds and put her back where she deserves to be, in federal prison.
One of the words that's going to come up a lot in our list, and we've talked about this many times, is the hypocrisy of Justin Trudeau and his government, and the way he even treats his own members of parliament, other members of parliament, other duly elected officials on social matters, on social issues that he would destroy them on and hold them to a certain account, when in fact his own groping, shall we say, the kokanee groper, his excuse for grabbing the backside of a woman at one of these events was, she saw things differently.
Yeah.
Suddenly it doesn't matter anymore.
And let's not forget that he arbitrarily signed Canada into a full-time commitment forever into the UN Migration Declaration. And we all know what that's going to mean down the pipe as far as open borders.
His international track record, even after that one, continues to get muddied. Now, this time, he signed a new deal with the Trump administration to replace NAFTA, the USMCA, that basically gave away our rights. It gave away a veto power to the United States and to China on trade issues. If they don't like it, okay, we won't do it. Terrible, terrible sabotage of our own sovereignty.
What about our porous border policy? You know, a problem that he personally created with an infamous tweet announcing that people would be welcome in Canada with open arms. Doesn't matter if you want to circumvent our immigration system. Doesn't matter if you want to circumvent the refugee system, and then he identifies illegal economic migrants as irregular border crossers and spends millions of tax dollars to put them up in hotels while our veterans are asleep on the street.
Oh, man. The idea that, they're asking for more than we have right now. That leads into the spending of the Trudeau government. $20 billion deficits. Remember, he said he's going to balance the budget. Budgets balance themselves.
But he was going to balance them by now, by 2019.
And we're increasing the national debt by hundreds of billions of dollars, $20 billion a year over budget. And this guy, doesn't really care, I guess, about our kids. He has children, our grandchildren. They're all going to pay for this.
Exactly. He quietly renewed the so-called equalization formula for another 5 years, despite the protests of a number of premiers and provinces. This will see Quebec receive over $13 billion this year alone, while the energy sector here in Alberta, that largely provides these funds, is on life support.
Talking about the energy sector, I mean, the whole pipeline debate, which is really, really a key to how important this election really is going forward. No pipelines. This guy is so hypocritical about the whole pipeline issue. We continue to buy oil. We buy oil, and it's gone up and up and up in the 4 years of his leadership. We buy oil from Saudi Arabia to supply eastern refineries, while we sit here on this pot of oil in Alberta, and they don't want it. They don't want anything to do with it. Well, of course, it might offend Quebec, so of course that's a big part of his
And what
priorities.
kind of gender equity programs do they have in Saudi Arabia?
Crazy.
And this, when New Brunswick has decided they want to revisit Energy East oil pipeline to start weaning themselves off of Saudi Arabian oil, but Quebec refuses to consider it. Trudeau supports that decision.
Boy, on pipelines, I mean, it got so messy with the Trans Mountain Pipeline debacle that the federal government under Trudeau would not enforce the law and get that pipeline built. And so Kinder Morgan bails. What do? Trudeau buys the darn thing for $4.5 billion, not to mention the $10 billion just to finish it.
If we ever get to finish it.
If we ever get there, because I think they're hiding behind the courts now on this whole thing. So trying to appease Native people, trying to use the Indigenous people as a weapon. That's what he's been doing on this pipeline debacle. And it's hypocritical because, as you say, a lot of Eastern Canadian provinces want Western oil, but he won't let them have it.
Well, in Argentina, do you recall this story? Trudeau warns about the social impacts of male construction workers in rural areas of Canada. A direct attack on the integrity of our oil patch workers, particularly in Western Canada.
And I wonder if he really likes being the prime minister. I think he really would rather be a dictator, but of course our democracy won't let him do that. But he did introduce himself in Argentina when he was there as the president of Canada. He said it of himself. So,
he didn't know what job he had.
I don't know.
And then, while in India, he plays Mr. Dress Up and hosts a reception that includes someone that is a known terrorist threat.
Jay, and now the last two that we're going to talk about really get to the core of why Jay and I think this election is so, so important. It's about the ethics and the rule of law that apparently don't apply to this prime minister. The ethics commissioner found he was guilty of violating ethics rules because he accepted the big fat freebie vacation from the Aga Khan. Remember the Caribbean island thing? Flies the whole family out there. Against everything that we hold to be of value in this free open democracy, he took a payout from the Aga Khan. That's what it amounted to.
And the number one reason that Dave and I believe that you should never consider voting for Justin Trudeau or any of his Liberal candidates can be summed up in 3 letters. SNC. He is now proven to be a liar who believes the law doesn't apply to him, as
Correct.
you just said, and he doesn't give a shit about you. So why would you vote for him?
And really, the SNC Lavalin case, and Jay and I have talked about it quite a bit, is really at the core of why we think this guy should be kicked out. Well, there's 20. 20.
You could probably add several hundred
Maybe
more.
you could.
Add to your own list. Send us a comment. What you think that we missed that should have been on our list, and we'll expand it to 20, 30, 50, whatever it takes.
That's Jay, I'm Dave. Subscribe if you can. We'd appreciate it. See you next time.
Thank you.